one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto, and I'm Joshua Jake. And today, guys, not only is this where we teach you how to make money with Bitcoin and crypto, but we have an absolutely amazing lineup today with the top 5 altcoins we're going to be paying attention to and tons of breaking news across the board as we approach negotiations with the United States and China with tariffs tomorrow morning. Guys, today I have with me, of course, TJ Drew on the sticks. And you can't see Kelly Kellum, but he is absolutely lounging on the couch, staring on the beautiful charts as Bitcoin. Yes, guys, Bitcoin 102. There he is with the disco. He is the disco ball today.
In chaos.
He is the disco ball today. But $102,000 Bitcoin. Did a little bit of a market update here. 102.5 this morning after, we've kind of been trading sideways now for what it feels like about just the last 24 hours. We ran up to 104K, came back down to 102K, went back up to 103K this morning, bouncing back and forth. But man, oh man, we're starting to get some life in altcoins here. You can see in the last 24 hours, Ethereum, almost $2,300, touching 2,400 earlier this morning. XRP, $2.34. Solana, $168. And of course, one of the bigger winners this week, Dogecoin, up 10% here to 20 cents. But TJ, Drew, how are you guys feeling this morning?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good. Happy to be here. Nice to see Bitcoin and crypto. Nice to see life in Ethereum, right? Nice to not have sold. I know we're riding the highs from yesterday, but almost $1,000 in a day, more or less. I mean, we're not quite, but it was at 1,800. Now we're looking at 2,300. I think it hit 24, 25 almost overnight. So yeah, really happy to be here. Happy that I didn't sell my ETH bag. I was close. I was feeling capitulation feelings. I was literally earlier this week, man, I think I might be overexposed to Ethereum. I've just got way too much of it in like so many different portfolios. But that's usually when the pump comes. So I'm glad I didn't sell. Glad I always held, and it's fun to see alts. The thing here, the altcoin index on CoinMarketCap here at 41 coins, outperforming Bitcoin right now. That's been in the 10s, 15s, 20s. So once we get above 50, 60, that's true alt season, but smells like alt season. That's what I'll say. We're close.
It's been a long time since we've seen the Ethereum block turn dark green. This is kind of how I start my morning every morning with what's on my screen here. It has been a long time coming that I've been waiting to see this go dark green, and my scam token Pi is pumping as well. I haven't sold all my Pi tokens yet, and I might just go ahead and do so.
Did you sell your Pi tokens?
What? Yeah,
you could sell Pi.
Yeah, absolutely. They're in my wallet. I did all that stuff, and I've been, I have actually a pretty decent amount of them, so might take advantage of that and then utilize that little move that has to, roll into my favorite projects. But seeing Ethereum up 15% today, and we dared to look at the Ethereum dominance chart to Bitcoin yesterday. Ethereum dominance against Bitcoin is up 22%.
Wow.
Over the last 24 hours, right? That's a pretty big move. We haven't seen this since right around November of 2024. And then previously it was right around April, March, and May of 2024 when you remember altcoins did 5x, 10x, 20x across the board. So this does have a lot of statistical hints that an alt season is actually brewing and on the horizon. Shout out to everyone that was crazy enough and intelligent enough to hold through the turmoil and actually stack crypto on that dip to 75K Bitcoin. I took it as a blessing. I know we were talking about it very, very heavily on this channel to take advantage of the dips and have some conviction and make sure that you are focused on what you're getting into. Make sure that you're looking at the data, because this is the time where we can really start gaining Satoshis and really laddering into the best asset on the planet, which is Bitcoin. It's a good time to be alive. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to mention this this percent meeting today, Josh. Are we looking at a potential China trade negotiation today is what you're referring to, or what's coming up for the?
That is over the weekend. Switzerland announced that they'll be meeting in Switzerland. So there is some news coming out for Donald Trump this morning. Of course, he is tweeting away on what he thinks should happen, which was an 80% tariff, which is a massive reduction from where we're at today. But we'll be talking about what is being priced into these markets, because honestly, I do believe that markets are expecting anywhere from a 30-50% tariff to take place on the longer end of this from the negotiations. But we'll see what takes place there in just a moment. I want to go through the rest of the market update first. Of course, in the last 24 hours, guys, some big movers. Okay, Pith Network, Pyth here with a massive 40% move to the upside here. Pepe up 30%. Athena, ENA, 21%. Brett Based. Meme coin still moving alongside Virtuals, Uniswap, and Floki. And then, of course, yes, your scam token, like you mentioned, up 23%. I love that you just came out of the gate saying that. You didn't even
It's a complete scam. I know it's a scam. I mean, absolutely. But I mean, I have the tokens in the wallet and I can sell them. So, if I can get even some Satoshis for them, that's great. Really don't have any conviction in the project at all, though. So, no, not at all.
Well, good to know. I mean, some conviction plays here, though, are moving today. Type 1 in the chat if you hold Gala Games. Again, I am somebody that's not the biggest fan of Gala, as they have completely, bent over the community over the last few years, but up again, 16% here, a little bit of life there. Artificial Super Intelligence Alliance, the FET token, Jupiter, Ethereum. Love to see Ethereum moving in some of the top 10 products there for you guys. But yes, here is your breaking news as of this morning. Just in, Switzerland says US and China are holding trade talks with Switzerland. If you guys follow Discover or myself on X, you would have seen this morning here. I did put some breaking news about 3 hours ago. Just in, Donald Trump talks of lowering China tariffs to 80% and says it's up to Scott B, referring to Scott Bessent. So we will see what happens out of this. Nobody is expecting the negotiations to roll over just simply over this weekend with China. We're expecting a longer, trade battle to take place over there. But it does go to show, after seeing the UK, the monumental, I mean, it is history with the US-UK trade deal that we saw just yesterday. We do expect more trade deals to be presented. So I believe it is another 17 countries. I don't expect China to be in the 17 countries alongside the UK. That will be announced over the next coming weeks. We're expecting, of course, things like Taiwan or India, and potentially some European countries, as well as maybe Mexico and China, that will result in some pretty hefty trade deals rolling out from there. But we'll see. We'll stay tuned. And if there's any breaking news, of course, if you guys are subscribed to the Discover Crypto, we'll be here live with you guys, completely breaking down that entire process. But quite a few big things happening today. Number one, CME Group to launch a micro euro denominated Bitcoin futures by March 18th. More bullish, more institutional adoption. This is why this morning I actually tweeted out something where I said the 4-year cycle is dead. And actually, CryptoQuant's CEO released a whole article on this, explaining why, because of institutional inflows, this 4-year cycle, again, it's not bearish that it's necessarily dead. It just may be extended and operate a little differently due to the institutional inflows coming into this market. But I want to ask TJ and Drew here, what are you guys' thoughts on this? This is definitely a different cycle. We hit Bitcoin all-time highs before the Bitcoin halving. We're moving, and if you look at just your historical charts between the metrics that we're seeing now, are we going to peak in Q3 this year and ultimately repeat the 4-year cycle again?
What do you think?
We got some thoughts on this, man.
Yeah, this is an interesting discussion here. Something we talk about around the office a lot today. I mean, Kelly, actually, I referenced your tweet this morning when I first saw it, and Kelly was sitting in my office, and he's like, "Yeah, absolutely, 4-year cycle is dead." And I believe it is dying. I'm not ready necessarily to pronounce it dead yet. I would say we're so far still on track. I do believe we're going to go into 2026, but I want to kind of wait and see what happens this summer. Traditionally, 4-year cycle would say sell in, the timing of it anyway, sell around September of this year. We start going down October, November, and then 2026 should be a massive correction if you're following 4-year cycle theory. I am not convinced we're going to see that happen this year. However, I say that very cautiously because I've heard that so many times. This time is different is what we're saying. This time it's different. It hasn't proved to be true the last several cycles I've done. So I don't know if I'm ready to pronounce it dead until we get into, past October and we still see things going up, and then it's dead. Right now, I would say it's dying. I do believe it will die. There you go. There's
we got
right
muted.
there.
Lost TJ. He got muted there just a little bit. Yes, I pulled up an accurate real-time footage of the 4-year cycle.
There you go.
This is actually TJ's hand in the bottom left corner. He is holding
on
4-year cycle right
holding
now.
On. You never. I mean, like we're still here for you. It is. You got to be careful to say this time it's different. But I will. Here's the thing. What drives the 4-year cycle is supply and demand economics. I do not think the halving will ever stop impacting the Bitcoin cycles, so to speak. But I do think we're heading into. I do think this is a golden bull run, super cycle, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's the golden super cycle, the bull super cycle golden run, whatever it is. I do think we're gonna blow everybody's socks off, go way past what their expectations are, and part of that does extend into 2026. And I think we're going to see diminished drawdowns. We've been seeing that happen throughout the cycles as well. So I guess you could say it's definitely different because I mean
there's some data behind what you're saying too.
Well, what do you got data wise?
Well, yeah, I mean I'll show this.
Coming in with the truth.
This is a Bitcoin dominance chart, and it's a very interesting tale what's happened over the last 3 cycles. So this is the second halving, and it took 231 days to see the alts start to run. This is mostly Ethereum and XRP. There wasn't really many alts to compete with Bitcoin at the time, so it was a very flat line competition level, and then ETH and XRP really started to run. This third halving, exactly 231 days to this local peak, and then you had quite a few more, right? Not nearly the 36 million altcoins that we have currently in our markets, but we have to remember many of those 36 million projects are indeed dead and will never come back because we're counting everything made off of pump.fund and all those different data points. So, where we are right now, we were looking at this 231-day mark back in December of last year. And this 231-day mark took us exactly to this momentary fake out where Bitcoin looked like it was going to start breaking down. And it did fall to a degree from this peak to low locally. It fell by about 11%, but then just picked right back up. The inauguration happened. Bitcoin hit that local high of $109,000 and then has just continued to keep going. Now, where we are, and I've been warned about this happening in 2024 by literal people that work within BlackRock, is that Bitcoin dominance was going to last much longer than we expect because now we have ETF inflows and they're not playing this little altcoin switcheroo game that we're used to playing in these previous markets where you see some, altcoins spur up and really have that violent move when it's just cheaper, right? And we have the 4-year cycle to operate off of. Now we are currently 140 days past Bitcoin dominance fall off expectations. So we're right around 375, maybe 380 days from that halving, which is much different. And what I'm looking for is still June, like what we are experiencing on the, the overall Ethereum pump right now. It's excellent. This is great to see dark green and 2300 on Ethereum, but at large, I really feel like June, or just a month or two from now is where we're actually going to see this Bitcoin dominance fall off. But the difference is I don't feel that we are going to hit this lower trend line on Bitcoin dominance falling down to these historical levels. I actually feel like Bitcoin dominance is going to bounce off of this upper downward trend and begin to start swallowing the rest of the market.
Interesting. And those lower levels, what's that, low 30, mid 30s, like 35, 33?
Yeah, these are 40% it fell to in the last cycle. And then the cycle before that, it fell to about 35%.
Yeah.
So
what's top of that trend line?
The top of this trend line is right at about 50%. And it basically lays out the idea that the preference for institutional adoption over the next few years is absolutely going to be focused on Bitcoin. You can find upside if you're buying altcoins in the right season and at the right lows, but the timing of when you buy altcoins is becoming more and more important. Even if they are a good project, the timing of them against Bitcoin matters so much.
Absolutely.
So this is why we have had data basically change. And I have paired, outside of like the family house Bitcoin, it really is just Chainlink and a few other added projects to my portfolio that I do have good confluence in.
Well, speaking of altcoins, we've got a question here from one of our members, and we are going to have a member stream later today with Josh right after this, so stick around after the stream for that. But Richard Polanco, in your two of your favorite altcoins right here, Drew, Morpho and Arrow. He's curious, what's a better buy in your opinion, Morpho or Arrow? What do you think?
That is so tough.
It's a tough question.
Yeah, so Morpho is at a smaller market cap with just as strong of conviction level as me. So Morpho is the in-app lending spot within Coinbase's UI. And I am of the opinion that Coinbase is going to push that product quite heavily. God, I mean, I'm basically split. They are at the exact same size of holding within my portfolio in terms of tokens. Now, Morpho has been performing better in terms of price appreciation. I guess not really though. Arrow's been my original buy on Arrow is like 18 cents.
Yeah, they're both very good. And what I always say to compare them is like Arrow is like Uniswap on base and Morpho is like Aave on base. And to Drew's point, they're both invested in and pushed by Coinbase. We do believe they're going to be pushing out more and more lending products on Coinbase. So if to become a member, you just hit the join button there, Jacob Bender. You should be able to find it. Sometimes YouTube prompts it. Sometimes they hide it. But just look for a button that says join. It will give you options to become a member, and then you can join that membership.
Well, we did a very specific dive on these two exact projects. These are two of the 5 preferred projects that I actually think you can turn $20,000 into 200K with right now.
Got to change your...
Yeah, I'll show this. This is the early Aave vibes. So essentially this is Aave. Hopefully that's
in the video he was talking about. He made a video 2 days ago. It's on the channel. If you guys aren't subscribed or don't have notifications on, Drew put out a video on turning 20K into 200K. He broke down several different altcoins that you could do that with. So make sure you guys go check that video out. It's a great video. It breaks it down well. So
early Aave though makes a lot of sense just from how much there's like $1.5 billion in active loans already on Morpho.
Wow.
I think 4 billion over in TVL. And so when I look at the market cap potential, I feel like $3 to $5 billion for kind of tampered expectations for Morpho are reasonable for me. That's the kind of Morpho comparison. Uniswap, it's an interesting comparison because Aerodrome has got the swap set up within base ecosystem, but also really, really providing some great DeFi options for people.
It's true. Yeah.
So it is a very, very interesting time frame where it's almost presenting more out of the gate use case than even Uniswap did. But now let's take a look at Uniswap's early performance.
Well, let me ask you this too. Follow-up question from the same guy. If you have a heavy bag of Arrow and you don't have any Morpho, would you start laddering into Morpho or would you keep buying Arrow?
Ooh, I mean, I would start. I mean, a little bit of exposure to Arrow. I mean, Arrow, Moonwell, and Morpho. Yeah. Right. Moonwell wasn't included because it's not within the top 5. But Moonwell, I feel like the base ecosystem is being completely underestimated right now. And what we see is it's the preferred exchange for United States crypto usage. And so when I see that, I saw the movement against Binance a few years ago from the DOJ. Our current, our past kind of regulatory climate, they're utilizing that to try to bring Binance down a notch and lift up an American-based brand. So I took that into account. And looking at, Aerodrome being compared to early Uniswap. I mean, Uniswap absolutely hit about $20 billion last cycle. So Aerodrome accomplishing half of this is a pretty darn reasonable level at about $10 billion market cap. Up to, I could see Uniswap and Aave doubling their previous all-time highs. Aave hitting 10 bill and Uniswap, hitting the $30 to $40 billion mark.
And while we're talking about Uniswap, sorry to jump in. Don't sleep on it either. It's been kind of quiet recently, but Unichain actually they've launched, and if you noticed yesterday, the Uni token was pumping extremely well. I think they actually passed as far as transactions happening on Unitrain versus the Ethereum chain. Uniswap has grown there. So
Holy cow.
Uniswap could be another really, really top performing altcoin. Huge market share advantage on a lot of the dexes. But and DZ's Peanuts here with the wellness check on Steadybug. Haven't seen him the last couple days. Love him. Hope he's doing well. I'm sure he'll be back. I'm sure he's not deterred. The best bears are always not phased when prices just double right in front of their eyes. So
right.
I'm sure he's around. We love you, Steadybug. Everybody needs a good bear in the chat to be wrong all the time.
That's like a bucket of cold water.
The conversation between the two tokens, though, is like it's diversification, guys. This is if you're betting on Basis ecosystem, you want access to the DeFi projects. So looking at aerodromes, the Uniswaps, etc. Borrowing and lending protocols are by far the thing that you should be paying attention to this cycle, though, in terms of tokenization. So we pulled up DeFi Llama here. What I wanted to point out was just Morpho. And if you could do me a favor, Drew, and pull up Morpho on CoinMarketCap so we can actually get the total market cap right now, because I know it's in the hundreds of millions. And then we're going to compare it to a few products. So I just want to point this out. So Morpho right now sitting at $3 billion in TVL. Massive, massive total value locked. And it's sitting at a market cap of currently, can you give
about 357 mil?
That is insane. So let's go to a competitor. All right. Pendle, 3.45 billion. What's Pendle's market cap right now? This is another fan favorite of the channel. We've actually talked about this since very, very early on. Another call from Blockchain Basement, of course, sitting at
that was an old school call. I mean, it's really far away from where that was, but it's at a $617 million market cap. Both of these volumes, though, Morpho's volume is up 100% in 24 hours, and Pendle's up 81% in volume right now. They're both showing
81%.
Yes, they're both their volumes are big right now.
And what's kind of pacing in right behind them, 2 down, number 15 on the chart, is BlackRock's Biddle Fund. So what I just want, which is sitting at 2.8 billion. From my perspective, the borrowing and lending mechanisms of this cycle are going to be probably the most bullish. They're going to see the most institutional interest, and you're going to see a lot of volume be pushed through this in terms of TVL. So I just wanted to point out, because Morpho is half the size of Pendle right now. And it is Pendle, I believe, is on Solana, correct? I forgot what Pendle's chain. It's on 11 different chains.
It's on Ethereum.
So Ethereum.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Ethereum.
Mainly
I have it
Ethereum,
right here. Ethereum, Arbitrum, Optimism. Huge platform. Morpho as well started to roll out through all of these, but it is Base's version. So half the market cap. I think the upside to that is pretty massive. And then, of course, if you're comparing Aerodrome, I wouldn't compare Aerodrome, just like you guys are saying, to Morpho. I'd kind of keep that alongside the Uniswap equation there. So just lots of upside opportunity. And I think we're going to continue to see that scale. And yeah, that's kind of the thoughts there.
Got a super chat here from Ricky Romero. And while we read that, if you guys could smash that like button, got a few thousand people in here right now, only 252 likes on YouTube. And shout out if you're on Rumble or X. We see you guys too, and we see all your chats. So let us see something in the comments. But where can Near Protocol go to this cycle? What do you guys? You guys have an opinion on? Near's a channel favorite, one that we like, one that captures a lot of that AI narrative, which I do think is going to be one of the stronger niches this cycle. Sitting at $2.87 right now. It looks like all-time high is around $18. That was back in 2022. And actually, even April of 2022, when the AI stuff was pumping, it was almost $18.
That was 2024, right? What do you mean, the NVIDIA conference?
I'm looking at the all-time high was 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Near ran up to this the AI agent run.
Well, it didn't have part in the AI agent run, but it had part in that March 2024 run for sure.
Oh, sorry, ChatGPT is what I meant.
Yeah, this is kind of a tough thing for me. I think, I got out of Near at about $6. Let's look at this. So yeah, that local peak that you were just looking at was something. But this,
which screen we want to look at?
This is the TVL versus token price, and there is some opportunity for arbitrage here. I mean, the price in comparison to the TVL is pretty low, which actually makes me almost want to go back into it, because I got out of it and kind of consolidated my portfolio a few months back when I saw that things were just, when that December moment happened, when we stopped seeing, Bitcoin dominance losing ground and actually started gaining ground back. I got out of Near at like $5 or $6 or something like that, just to protect myself. I think, is it at $2 right now?
Yeah,
Is that what we just saw?
287, almost 3, but 287. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, looking at the TVL, the tick back up for Ethereum, I am actually now, because I'm very seasonal with altcoins, seeing that the dominance for ETH is picking up. And we might actually be approaching that moment, like probably around like 400 days past halving for Bitcoin dominance to finally fall off. Sounds like enough beatings to altcoins for us to finally start to party here. So I'm actually, you're giving me FOMO just asking me about it, because I did get out and protect myself a few months ago.
Yeah, I'm not actually holding near right now either. But it is one that fits, like I said, fits in that AI narrative that I do expect to perform. We've been loud about Tau recently. We do hold some Tau. You know, we've been crushing it with that one. If I had to pick one AI play, it might be Tau. But if you wanted to build an AI bag, AIOZ, Tau, Near, you know, and then you get down low in some of those agent plays, and you know, for some of those low, I wouldn't put a ton in there, but you know, if you, well, whatever percentage you want to do. But
there's a negative headwind going against Near though, because it was Nvidia just planned to do away with their crypto partnerships, right? And so that was a big part of what drove Near's hype during the March 2024 rally, was that connection and sharing the stage with Jensen.
Yeah.
At the Nvidia conference, they do plan on actually doing away with that. Not trying to FUD it, just trying to, you know, highlight that. And we did pump up, like, let's see here. I'm just going to look at the price. We actually really want to kind of focus on this for a sec. So, because my wife was hammering this thing at like $1.50 or something like that, and then, you know, got up to about $7.50. So I had that like really momentary upswing, and it's basically been a complete price reset. This is a tough one because it doesn't have that. This is the thing about it, is that we have AI agents now, right? Have like direct, and Tau is a much more direct AI application than Near. So that
it is, but again, we're getting into the part of the cycle where it's all about speculation and hype, right? So like, it's one of those, if you want an easy, that's probably a slam dunk easy 10x. It's probably much more than a 10x. You could go from basically $2.80 up to 28, 30 bucks, no problem. That's literally just testing the all-time high that was in a bear market, all-time high of 2022, which is again something else to focus on. If you find coins that have their all-time high not in a bull market, that's something that's very interesting to me. When I see something, oh, this topped out in 22 or this peaked in 23, most likely it's going far beyond that all-time high, and near fits that framework. Is that's what I was looking for. So I mean,
it's number 31 right now.
I'm actually thinking about, as we move forward in the with the Discord and all that sort of stuff, we're going to be building different portfolios. I'm considering not in May, so don't put me on the clock or anything. We got a lot going on in May. We got the Bitcoin conference, but maybe sometime in June, setting up some niche specific portfolios where, like, hey, we're going to take 10K and put it in, we're going to build a AI portfolio, and we'll diversify it out into some different plays, and we're going to build a meme portfolio, or we'll build a blue chip altcoin portfolio or something like that, and just kind of track them all, more just for fun and just for you guys to track along with us and see what you think about it. And so AI, because to me, you want to make sure you're in the niches that are in the meta. AI, RWA, DeFi, those are the sectors that I'm focused on, and then of course Bitcoin and Bitcoin DeFi, which we're going to have, I think we're going to have the founder of Bitcoin OS on here pretty soon, who did that Cardano to Bitcoin transaction, which I'm pretty excited about. I interviewed
him yesterday too.
Oh, you did?
He's a great guy. Is it Iago?
I believe so. Yeah. I'll have to look at it. Yeah.
I mean, that one is pretty crazy.
Thanks for the super chat, Mike. And thanks for all the members out there. And if you don't, can you swap where you're looking at your preview screen and where you're looking at your
sure. Yeah.
Just use the different monitor there.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you got? What are you looking at over there, Josh?
Just scrolling through some of the altcoins that they're requesting here in the chat, Jupiter, Ondo, etc. We're at that point of the cycle, guys, where I think TJ hit it on the head. It's going to be a lot of speculation now from here moving forward. Jupiter, huge. Honestly, if I was betting on a DEX in Solana's ecosystem, it's Jupiter. They've been making massive acquisitions in the space, and I think you're going to see some serious volume. I think that's going to roll back. In terms of Ondo, of course, there's right now rumors speculating and almost confirmed. I mean, the CEO did like a tweet that was referencing it. which was a partnership and alongside Robinhood with tokenization.
I've heard this. Yeah.
Don't know if this is going to take place, but they did just have a huge Ondo private kind of summit at the One World Trade Center as well. So that's very, very exciting. But again, when you look at, like, for example, Ondo's a governance token. There is speculation around the chain that they're going to integrate fee sharing or, some attribution system that benefits the institutions that want to validate that network. Again, all speculation. So I'm very, very excited for this market here. But a lot of these, like, for example, Near's like the AI platform. They were an AI company before they transitioned into a blockchain AI development company. And again, if you're looking for a big mover, they're a pretty large market cap. And if they didn't hit all-time highs with the Chat GPT hype, again, kind of take that into consideration as we kind of scale up with Bitcoin's price again. And Ethereum, something I'm watching very closely is the fact that Bitcoin hit 100K again, and Ethereum hit a lower high, right? It hit $2,300. Last time was $2,700. The time before that was $3,300. And so just understand the flow of capital that's coming into this money market, or this new market, is heavily favoring that of Bitcoin. And so I believe there's going to be tons and tons of upside on all of these altcoins. You just really need to pay attention to which sectors are going to be the most speculated. And from my perspective, that's borrow and lending, that's tokenization, that is stable coins, that is a specific niche part of these platforms. Could be Bitcoin DeFi, and we'll roll through those as we kind of just approach the cycle here. But I think someone had something to say off that as well.
No, I agree. I mean, you're basically saying DeFi, tokenization, RWA, a lot of that stuff is DeFi. And I really do think, I'm heavy. Look, I hold a lot of DeFi stuff. That's what, in my opinion, Arrow is DeFi, Morpho is DeFi, Aave is DeFi, Curve, Uniswap, Convex, even if you're into Curve, you can just keep going down the line. You kind of go find what's DeFi on. He mentioned Jupiter and Radium. I hold both of those platforms. And if you're getting into those liquidity pools and all that stuff, you're using all that stuff, you're earning on all that. A Plume is another channel favorite that kind of hits, the RWA and DeFi stuff. There's just so much you can do within DeFi. And I really think that's coming to the mainstream now that banks are allowed to custody and participate in this. They get excited about traditional markets, the 10 to 20% annual yield is exciting. Like, they get real excited about that. In DeFi, you're looking for like 10% a month. And so, which is like 100% a year. And eventually that will go down, but that delta will close over probably 10 to 20 years. And so we've got a lot of opportunity. We've got that channel, DeFi, Crypto, and Airdrops. He's in the chat here every day. They talk a lot about that. We're going to have an entire section of our Discord that's dedicated to like sharing the strategies that we're using, because there's a lot to it. It's almost endless the amount of different strategies you can employ to earn revenue on your assets through DeFi. There's as simple as just like, hey, just stick it on Aave and earn on it. That like very passive, but you're not going to earn nearly as much as if you're doing other things. So stick around. We're gonna have a lot to cover on that stuff, but I do believe DeFi is probably going to be the main winner in this. And this is always a good reminder. It's something I put out here today on the Discover Crypto X account. Phase 2 ETH. Really, we're probably in this phase overlap section. Money flows into Ethereum, but it struggles to keep up with Bitcoin. Ethereum goes back and forth where it starts outperforming it, and then Bitcoin outperforms that. We're probably getting into that now. Obviously, yesterday and recently, Ethereum massively outperformed. We need to see that maintained before we could officially call it phase 2. But to the point Josh was making, it's not going to be just alt seasons of the past, and this is. I would say this, alt season as we know it has forever changed. Just like the Bitcoin 4-year cycle is changing, alt season is changing, where it's not going to be like, oh, hey, it's alt season, every alt's going up. We'll have days like that, but it's going to be much more sector specific, where we see, certain things fade away and go to zero, certain things outperform. And Drew's point was key too. It's timing. They will outperform Bitcoin for a time, but the maxis, you got to give credit where credit is due. Go find me a chart that's more than 7 years old that isn't trending down against Bitcoin.
Right.
It's going to be very hard.
That's the key there. More than 7 years old, because some of the new ones you can find are outperforming Bitcoin.
You can find some. Yeah, you can find some. But over time, over the long period of time, almost everything trends down against Bitcoin. And that's not just altcoins. That's the S&P 500. That's gold. That's the dollar. That's almost any asset ever. And that's why Michael Saylor is out there saying the things that he's saying. He's saying it's the apex asset. It's the black hole that's going to swallow everything. It is the primary asset to hold. And I agree, everything will trend down against Bitcoin over the long term. There will be brief periods where you have specific sectors that outperform on speculation that you can use to accumulate and get more Bitcoin, which is, I would say, I can't speak for everybody in the office, but I think most everybody in the office, that's more or less their strategy. Use altcoins over these next 6 to 12 months to acquire more Bitcoin, and then roll your profits into Bitcoin and hold those forever and lend on it, and be free and die happy.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's as simple as just looking at, like, if you guys don't believe this, is, you know, what are nation states and the U.S. government and corporations doing right now to accumulate? Is there, whether it's convertible notes or if it's lending against or borrowing against their own through, for example, Strive on their cash deficits that right now exist within the market? Is it going to be, you know, real estate taxation on a local state level that's accumulating a crypto? All those cryptos, it doesn't matter if it's taxation, if it's stable coins, if it's treasuries, whatever they're focusing on using to accumulate a crypto. It's not crypto, it's Bitcoin. It's always Bitcoin. So that just, to me, just explains the dominance factor that's going to show that Bitcoin's going to remain dominant, which of course is going to be good for altcoins because the liquidity pairs and everything exist together. But again, back to TJ's point here, and the point we were making, you know, throughout the show, is that it's going to be very sector based. So if you want to make money in this market, it's by researching and analyzing the most speculative parts of this new sector, this new emerging industry, which we seem to always be at the forefront. Whether we are early to it with tokenization, we call that entire market, when it was a $10 million market, it is now worth almost $8 or $9 billion in the time span of a year and a half. We've watched BlackRock, Fidelity, Vanguard, State Street, all to come together and start tokenizing. And then, of course, the borrowing and lending flows through all of this with DeFi. So stay tuned, subscribe, guys. But a perfect example of this is going to be Rumble Wallet here. In partnership with Tether, we'll directly compete with Coinbase. Our goal is to become the most prominent non-custodial Bitcoin and stablecoin wallet, powering the creator economy, coming in Q3 this year. So even your largest streaming platforms, a company that is directly partnered with Tether, received $775 million or something ridiculous from them.
They're not just partnered. Tether owns it.
Owns them. They're
the primary common stock shareholder is Tether.
So
huge interest.
Which again, Tether also 21 Capital. People forget that Tether
owns like everything. Bitmain.
They own all of 21 Capital. I mean, I think it's like, if you do the math between, because Bitfinex also Tether, guys. Like, don't get that mixed up. Like,
and the other side, Cantor Fitzgerald.
Too?
Right?
No, it's is it Bitfinex? I always get.
Well, they own Bitfinex too. But
yeah, but so 70% of that 21 Capital thing is more or less directly or indirectly owned by Tether or Tether's parent company, which also owns Rumble. So this was actually pretty cool, and we do have a partnership with Rumble. They're going to be out at the Bitcoin conference. That's where we met them last year. It's a big platform when it comes to freedom. Obviously, freedom of speech is important, but I also heard today, I don't have a story on this, but Meta supposedly rolling out wallets and crypto in there. So as we start to get, and this is the definition of going mainstream, when you get platforms with billions and billions of people,
3 billion users.
Yeah, and these are active users. These are people on there every single day that now have a crypto wallet built in. They're going to be, the amount of new eyeballs that are coming to this space is going to shock people. And that's part of why we're talking about this time it's different, because go ahead.
I was going to say on top of it, because the Tether, it was Bitmain, but it's not Bitmain directly. They are buying Bitmain's largest lending partner. They're buying 50% of the IPO on the NASDAQ.
Yeah. I mean,
this was from a few days ago.
They're set up to be, Tether is the new BlackRock, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's part of what got BlackRock's attention, as far as I can tell, is, wait a minute, these crypto companies that came out of nowhere are starting to own all of our stuff. We got to start fighting. We got to get into this Bitcoin thing before they own everything. We have to have exposure to the stablecoin business before Tether comes over and replaces the central banks and put everything on their balance sheet. And now we're not in control anymore. That's what's been happening. And so now we've got some actual free market competition from people that were able to use laws and global laws and regulations and bureaucratic roadblocks to control everything for the last close to 100+ years. Now, thanks to the internet, thanks to decentralized technology, thanks to Bitcoin and DeFi, we've seen companies come up and they can instantly they can actually build like an internet company. You can build financial products like you would build technological products, and it really is revolutionizing the entire world.
They're covering the Facebook deal on CNBC here. They're highlighting $3 billion. And remember, when Facebook tried to do this last cycle, Mark Zuckerberg was pulled in front of Congress and absolutely
they destroyed him. They had the Libra. It was because they said you're going to kill the dollar.
Right.
You're gonna take out, if you do this now, there's no reason to hold the dollar if you can have a currency that's backed by a basket of treasuries and Bitcoin and all this different stuff. And it was
fast things change.
Which is so funny because like it would have brought so much value to the US dollar.
Yeah.
Like that was how dumb. Well, it will. It's just that's how dumb our congressional representatives are when it comes to innovative tech. Like they didn't even try to understand it. They're just like, oh, Libra token, that's not the US dollar, even though it was literally going to be backed. I think Libra was supposed to be backed 1-to-1 to US dollar as well. So just goes to show which Zuckerberg
they
pivoted.
They made them pivot to that. So originally Libra was going to be backed by a basket of assets. They were talking about 10, institutional grade.
You're right.
They were going to have Chinese treasury. They were going to have U.S. treasuries. They were going to have gold. They potentially floated Bitcoin and other, sovereign debt. And then they said, no. Only thing you can do is 1-to-1 with the dollar. And they were, and then it's like, well, that's not an interesting product. And so it basically killed the whole project.
Well, those split into two very interesting projects that we have now. It's
SWE and Aptos are what was born out of Congress killing, and look how successful those have been. So it's just like, speaking of dumb Congress, do we want to talk about them blocking the Genius Act?
Oh God.
Oh yeah, we're about to pull that up as well.
Absolutely.
Here we go. U.S. 100%. Senate blocks
100%.
Genius Act. Yellen criticizes the decision here. So in case you guys missed it here, the U.S. Treasury Secretary expressed support. So Scott Bessent very much in favor of support for these stable coins in market structure bills being considered in Congress in response to the question about China. Speaking at a hearing, U.S. Treasury Scott Bessent suggested support for crypto-related bills moving through Congress. Addressing lawmakers at a May 7th hearing on the Financial Services Committee, saying that the United States should be the premier destination for digital assets in response to a question about American dominance over China in crypto-related innovation. The Treasury Secretary added that the good market structure and stablecoin legislation could help ensure this outcome. Of course, we quote tweeted this on X here, but we believe the United States should be the premier destination for digital assets. Digital assets are an important source of innovation that can drive usage of the US dollar. And if you can pull up Hester Pierce's tweet to talk about in just a moment as well, Drew, that'd be freaking awesome.
I'm trying to figure out which senator was the deciding no.
Yeah, because it was like 49, 48,
48,
49 or whatever it was.
I think it might claim it in this next article here. So the Genius Act, guys, let me scroll down here to see that exact bill because we're getting ahead here. The bill introduced by Bill Haggerty faced opposition mainly from Democrats led by Chuck Schumer. Of course, the Emperor Palpatine. Despite the bipartisan recognition of the need for regulatory clarity, procedural challenges prompted Senator John Thune to vote against the bill for strategic reasons. So it was John Thune. This impasse leaves U.S. digital assets innovation in a fragmented state. Market nervousness as U.S. stalls on stablecoin regulation. Here you go. As USDC remains stable at $1 as of CoinMarketCap's last, of course, analysis here. But this analysis indicate potential regulatory adjustments. Let me zoom in here so this they could read a little bit better.
They're leaving out a name. I'm quite surprised they're leaving out here. They're leaving out an important name.
I will see if they announce it here in 2 seconds.
I want to see if they went and said who it was.
The effect stablecoin adoption with U.S. markets, historically lack of clear federal guidelines, has corralled innovation in domestic corridors as regions like the EU expand their legislative reach, potentially influencing cross-border digital asset competitive. Here's a quote here: for stablecoins and other digital assets to thrive globally, the world needs United States leadership. The Senate's failure to advance the Genius Act, again led by Democrats, was a missed opportunity to provide this leadership a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to expand the dollar's dominance and enhance the U.S. influence in financial innovation. Without such legislation, stablecoins would continue to be governed by a patchwork of state laws rather than a unified federal approach to better support their growth and global competitiveness. Senators who voted today to block American innovation face a simple choice: either step up and lead or watch digital assets innovation slip through away overseas. And this is actually a quote from Janet Yellen. the previous U.S. Treasury Secretary. Now, I need to double check this because I don't know if they just misquoted this and it's actually Scott Bessent or if it's Janet Yellen, but I do think it is Janet Yellen here. So who was the lead name you're looking for there?
It's Rand Paul.
Uh,
Rand Paul is very interesting. Rand Paul,
Rhino.
Josh Hawley. Well, Rand Paul was like, I mean, he was kind of almost on the libertarian edge, right? Ron Paul,
Supposed to
Rand
be.
Paul, supposed to be. So we have Josh Hawley.
I don't have your screen, by the way.
Hey, I'll show this here real quick. Josh Hawley, another guy named Josh. What is this? Rand
He's
Paul
putting a bad rep on the Josh
and John Thune. So, and then an independent Angus King. So these were the no votes that kind of pushed it over the edge into no
Now,
territory.
does it say why?
It doesn't give, allowing him to file a motion.
Well, we
to
know
reconsider.
Pocahontas was out there telling it, like campaigning. So I think it's just a lot of political phone calls. Their donors told them which way to do it. I think ultimately this will go through. They're saying, oh, we can make a bunch of amendments. We can change this. We can change that. We need to slow this down. And usually that means big money still isn't in the position. And they make the phone calls and say, hey, we need to block this because this group of people is already positioned to profit handsomely when this happens, but we are not. And basically the banks are not ready for stablecoin legislation to go through because they're going to get crushed if they don't, because they're not,
the private sector's already ready.
Private sector's ready. The competition is ready to compete with banks, and they have been for a long time. And we're finally about to get some freedom to do it and big money. And, you can
hold up. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah, exactly. We're not ready for this yet. And you can figure out who owns the banks. I mean, I don't need to say it, but it's out there.
Yeah,
it's out there. There's songs about it. I hear.
Pullers.
It's literally just lobbying. Yep, it's 100%. It's funny how Elizabeth Warren, she said that Trump's crypto ventures are blatantly corrupt. When this is somebody who has not passed a single bill in her entire, I think she's passed one out of the 400 she's implemented into the U.S. So,
the gem.
Yeah, I wonder where all those is that a waste of money? Is that corruption? I don't know, Miss Pocahontas here.
And I do have this Hester Pierce tweet you had mentioned.
Yes, this
here.
is very important.
If you want to dive into this, I mean, this is a very interesting move from Hester Pierce.
Read it off.
Let's see it. She's looking at considering a conditional exemption to allow trading of tokenized securities using blockchain, aiming to foster innovation while maintaining investor protection. So considering a conditional exemption to allow this to actually get kickstarted. More so, I'm actually leaning, TJ is probably hitting the nail on the head. The banks are just simply not ready for the private sector to outpace them. This is going to be very, very interesting. Right.
It's inevitable. I mean, it's the bank's fault for they've painted themselves into a corner with legislation over all these years. And now they're at the point where they haven't innovated their own products, and they're scrambling to do this in the last 2 years. And it's not like they're not ready. Like BNY Mellon, was seen at Ondo Summit talking about how they're ready to launch their own layer one or their own private chains to establish their own stable coins. So they're just scrambling last second here. But again, it's at their own fault. It's at their own policies that have pushed it to this tipping point. And so it's going to open up, whether it's a year, 2 years. What you're going to see right now is these bills aren't dead, right? I keep seeing like a lot of channels coming out and saying, oh, so-and-so bill is dead in the state of Florida, or dead in the United States, or dead in Congress. And it's never dead. What it essentially means is that these bills are being talked about. They're going to be pushed. Instead of being HB 222, it'll be HB 223. And it's
kind of like what we saw in Florida, right?
That's exactly what we're seeing in Florida. Yeah, people are like, oh, I was like, it's a lot of people don't understand. It's okay. It's okay. They just, that's not how civics necessarily works. It's not how the congressional scale works with these bills. Usually bills will be stopped on a House committee or a Senate committee, or even at the governor's desk. It could be as simple as because the example I use is there might be two CFOs that are looking to run against each other for a specific state. And a bill of that magnitude would look really good on somebody's resume if they get it passed. So they might make political loopholes or political strategies to prevent something from taking place and passing until they're into that position. That sounds corrupted, but this is politics. Has always been politics. So when a bill gets stopped and it says like, for example, I forgot the right term for this. It's like inevitable, like it's good. It could be forever. It starts with an I.
Perpetuity, or
that's still not the word. But either way, you guys know what I'm saying. Is like it's at the tip of my tongue.
Infinite?
No, close to that, but you get the point.
Okay.
is when a bill gets stopped, it says like it can continue on forever, and they may or may not indefinitely. Thank you. That is definitely the word there. Just completely broke there. Indefinitely. It usually just means that there's going to be a ton of amendments and a tons of language that's being shifted within that bill. It could also mean that maybe a bill that is similar that maybe have passed in New Hampshire might look more attractive than the bill that's being pushed through a specific state.
Right.
And so now it's just, this is all that's going to happen is in the net, once they come back from recess, these bills will be reintroduced then. Again, have to go through the House, have to go through the Senate, go back to the governor's desk.
Also, Jason L here, a friend from up north, eh? Big shout out to TJ for helping me with a small L Bank misunderstanding. You guys are awesome, professional, and fun to watch. Setting up my new Arculus wallet as we speak.
Ooh.
Happy to hear that, and happy we got that sorted out. I was helping him with an account thing, and Arculus is a great wallet. We're gonna actually, on that note, run a quick ad for them. We'll be right back. And then actually we have a really cool new rewards coming out of L Bank, and it's even better and even easier for all of you to participate. So stay tuned. We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top. All right. Yeah. So if you haven't already picked up an Arculus wallet, be sure to do that. We're going to be hanging out with them at the Bitcoin conference very soon. Use that code DC20. But also, before, in order to need an Arculus wallet, you need to make that money. We've got this cool new event. It's very easy, and it's volume based. So all you have to do is trade, and you get these rewards. I think $100,000 is extremely easy to hit, in my opinion. It doesn't, that's one $10,000 trade at a 10x, or a few trades with 10x, a couple $100. It doesn't really matter. Like I was shocked at how easy it is to get to $1 million. So a lot of you, if you trade with some volume, you should be able to unlock this 300 really easy. But I mean, you can get all the way up to 10 grand if you're a serious trader. I know Crypto Crank and Chemistry Bro and some of these other guys that trade with some weight, that should be some pretty easy money to unlock. All you have to do, there's a link in the chat and in the description. This is running for the next 30 days, and you get these rewards every single week. This is weekly trading volume here, so it's very easy to unlock. You get a newcomer bonus. I think you get $100 just for taking your first trade there. And as in addition to this $10,000, whoever has the most volume at the end of the period, again, will win 3,000, 2,000, and 3. So I think Jason was actually the one who won last time. He won that 3K. Awesome. So it's good money. It's if you trade already, you need to at least be doing this. And I think on top of it, no maker fee. So they're really going above and beyond for the Disco fam here. This is a offer that you only get if you're part of our affiliate. So make sure you use the link to sign up under our affiliate link. That's also how we're going to be verifying for the Discord. So putting that trading group together, and if you guys need more help with your trades, we'll be in Discord to help you with that starting very soon.
Is that next week or the week after?
I'm hoping to be next. We're going to do it.
I can't wait to fire it up.
It may be janky with the onboarding, and you may take a lot of it may be very manual, but we really want to get it going. He said, yeah, it was fun to participate. Yeah, I had fun messing with it too. L Bank been around for a long time. Pretty good volume, pretty good high levels of trust, and we're big obviously partners. Point, it's always backwards, but they're over there. They're above. Yeah, there you go. They're above Drew. So really shout out to them. It's been great working with them. They've been very easy to work with. I know Josh met some of them out in Dubai as well. So yeah, love L Bank.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking at the trades too this weekend. I mean, Kelly was highlighting it. I was looking at the same stuff. It's been a heck of a move to the upside. Really, we can't forget there is that 92 CME gap, but honestly, the things I'm watching over the weekend are more so this lower shelf at about 101.5, and then another shelf below that at about 99.5. I'm not going to be too terribly surprised if we come back down to try to find support on any of these previous shelves. But in general, I'm still trading on the old movement here that we saw a few weeks ago of this green weekly dot. Money flow honestly looks like it wants to continue to come up and to the right. And I only have seen this, signal 3 times since the middle of 2023. So I'm taking it very, very seriously. When these come up, this is when I back up the truck on altcoins, fire up the leverage trading, And it's honestly worked out really, really well over the last few weeks. It's been an insane rally since we did see this print. We're up about 40% since that original print. Nothing goes up into the right only. You know, when we had this last one print, I mean, let's just do a quick measurement on it live here so you guys can see. When we see the pullback, honestly, oh my God, I don't know. We might have another. Geez, we rallied 70% before we even saw any sort of pullback from that green dot previous to this. So, I mean, I'm just trading up into the right on this assumption, but looking for some carefulness, you know, using stop losses just so the bag doesn't blow up. And I'm using about 25% of the total trading bag in general. But it's honestly helped me, you know, print a bunch of new Tether, and that's how I was able to increase my position in Ondo, Morpho, all my Chainlink. I was able to buy a lot of my favorite projects in this last major dip that we had. So now I'm going into the next, you know, season or iteration of the bull market with an even heavier bag from trading. You just got to be careful about it. Don't put all the risk on the table. But as it looks right now, man, I haven't seen these signals since middle of 2024.
Well, you know what else we haven't seen? Middle of 24, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it started playing in the middle, and then the real one, because this is the volatility coming down to 40. We've only seen it really at this level 3 times this whole dang market.
Which is, what are the dates on? I'm just curious.
This one was September 23. This is when I did that huge chain link buy, right? And then this one was September of 2024. The latest one, April of 2025, and that was that 75K dip.
Well, check this out. This is probably the most bullish chart you could ever see for, you know, miners not selling any Bitcoin. That is extremely bullish because they're holding it because they know it, you know, like gonna go up and they want to get their rewards. And this is happening at an extremely low rate right now. Nobody wants to sell their Bitcoin anymore, which is very, very good. Now they're all raising money to fund their operations rather than having to sell Bitcoin to fund their operations. And we can see, look, you can almost always, like, you can see the inverse. When they're selling, price is dropping. When they're not selling, price is ripping. And this is dropping very quickly, which leads me to believe we're going to see another big pump in the near future. So,
love it.
Yeah, feels good. Feels good.
I do have an Ethereum article here I want to cover real quick, just for anybody that's wondering why Ethereum is surging here to double digits, $2,400 following the Petra upgrade. So a lot of people want to know what might be behind this move. And for Ethereum surging by 30%, this is very important. So the Petra upgrade for Ethereum, which just went live on Wednesday, developers are calling the most ambitious upgrade the network has ever implemented. The second largest cryptocurrency is currently trading at 2,300, just down a little bit, a little below that today here. But Petra aims to improve the network's user experience, scalability, and staking flexibility. This is being done by enabling account abstraction, tweaking data storage requirements, as well as increasing validator staking limits and allowing for a more flexibility when withdrawing. In the 3 months leading up to the Petra upgrade, Ethereum had fallen 33% and got absolutely abolished by the Trump trade war and geopolitical tensions. However, of course, the huge news between the UK and the US has seen a recent surge here. So this is getting kind of exciting. The Petra upgrade is a new scalability solution to ETH's upgrade. And what's going to be interesting here is Vitalik Buterin now doubling down on completely changing the Ethereum code. I mean, we put out a video not too long ago on them wanting to go to risk 5 or risk V, however you want to call that. Some developers get a little nerdy and are like, you're saying it wrong, Josh. But hey, that's why you're a dev and I'm a content creator. Ultimately, what they're looking to do is completely recode and make Ethereum a much better scaling solution. Ethereum's been used almost as if it was the central bank or the Federal Reserve, and layer 2s are taking advantage of that network by taking a lot of transactions off chain, running them through sharding mechanisms or through other L2 mechanisms before bringing it back to the Ethereum network. So this could be very, very bullish for Ethereum on the long end of this. There'll be a lot of developments that roll out from this, but for anybody that's betting against Ethereum, let's just remind you guys, where's all the tokenization being built, right? This is where the development is. There's some exciting new developments taking place here. So still a long ways to go for Ethereum, but I would not be betting against it necessarily there for you guys. And this is on top of this right here. Ethereum Foundation coming in and investing $32.65 million in ecosystem growth. Hey, Ethereum Foundation, hit us up. We are building FOMO. Maybe you want to do something cool there. But consensus layer, zero knowledge proofs here, developer tools, execution layers, all massive injections of liquidity coming to Ethereum's ecosystem out here. Very exciting. So Yeah, guys, if you want to watch us trade here, we're going to be live in the members only stream right after this, doing some live trade executions and just breaking down some alpha in these markets right now, what we learned in Dubai, the products I'm going to be watching, the top 5 altcoins we're going to be focusing on accumulating the most of. A lot of you may already know what they are, but we're going to be looking for better entry points. Is it too late to buy? Is it too late to sell? That's happening in the member stream right after this, guys. So thank you for being here. TJ, Drew, if you have anything to leave off, let's roll into this members.
I mean, man, it's good to have conviction being crypto right now. It's about Friday. It's going to be a beautiful weekend, it looks like. Enjoy the return of alt season to risk assets coming back into, speculation. And really, I'm having a lot of fun, man. So shout out to everyone that was
Now's
able to
the
buy.
time. If you guys want to join this is where the join button is. You should see subscribe and you should see join right here. If you want to become a member, just click that. And I had to pull this up on incognito because I'm already joined, but you click that, it'll take you through the prompts, and we'll see you in there.
Peace out.
Take care, guys.